It's over! The Detroit Red Wings win the Stanley Cup!
Welcome to the city of Montreal, where the final opened in the Montreal Forum, home of the world's most rabid hockey fans. Nothing can stir the Canadian metropolis of Montreal as can the appearance of their beloved Canadiens on Montreal Forum ice. Every game for 14 consecutive seasons has been played before a sellout crowd. Canadiens were favored to win this championship, but there was no overconfidence. The Bruins had not only conquered the always feared Detroit Red Wings, but throughout the year had beaten the Canadiens 7 times, tied them 3, and lost only 4. Montreal coach Toe Blake was striving to make history and win the cup in both of his first 2 seasons of NHL coaching. The referee is Red Story, Montreal in the dark sweaters. And now, in this first game, watch a marvelous performance under playoff pressure. Maurice the Rocket here, he fires high. And once again, Simmons saves at close range. Opening goal, which is considered so important in playoff hockey. Boston moving up. Larry Regan to Topazzini. Now it's 5 Bruin attackers inside the Montreal blue line. Regan, number 24, back to Doug Moens at the point. His pass up to McKell, who scores to send Boston into the lead. Here it is in slow motion. Regan pass to Moens. McKell takes it off the boards. And a narrow opening, but still big enough to send Boston into that 1-0 margin. The advantage lasted only 3 minutes. Moore's backhander deflects to Maurice Richard, and there's number 1 of his 4 goals. The game is tied at 1-1. Less than 3 minutes later, watch 2 of the most accomplished players the game has ever seen combine on a dazzling playoff goal. Doug Harvey, number 2, a pass to Richard, around the defense, and a typical Rocket goal, his second of the night, 561st of his NHL career. A Boston penalty to Chevrefis sets up the 3rd Montreal goal. Here it is, scored by Bernie Geoffrion. Before the period ends, 2 Richards gang up on Simmons. The pocket Rocket, little Henry, with a drop pass to Maurice. And there's Rocket goal number 3. Motion. The Rocket takes the pass, moves into scoring position. You're watching an old family custom. Boston fights back. Regan passing to McKell, but Plante saves. And on a return rush, there are those Richards again. Simmons stops the Rocket, and then the pocket Rocket. The Richards aren't through yet. This is Henry, number 16. When he gives the puck to brother Maurice, it's goal number 4 for the fabulous Rocket. 6 times in playoff hockey, Richard has scored 3 or more goals in 1 game. Twice he's had 4, once 5, a record no other player can match. The second game also on Montreal ice, with Frank Udbury, the referee. It developed into a fierce checking duel, with the goaltender stealing the show on both sides. Here's a good save by Simmons on Geoffrion's shot. A Montreal break like this usually means trouble. Geoffrion and Beliveau with only 1 man back, but Simmons holds it out. You don't see these 2 fail in a rush like this very often. So let's look at it again in slow motion. The lone defenseman is Bob Armstrong. Even the Richards are being stopped tonight. That's Henri, whose pass is intercepted. And a break by Vic Stasiak, number 7. And a welcoming party by Doug Harvey and Dollard Saillants. Maurice Richard sent flying by stocky Boston defenseman Leo Boivin. That's Fern Flaman, number 14. Not even the officials escaped the tough checking tonight. A Boston penalty in the second period. Still a scoreless deadlock. Dollard Saillants starts the power play attack to Geoffrion. A perfect pass to Beliveau in the clear. Hey, down in front, mister. But Montreal fans never take Beliveau goals sitting down. Canadiens lead 1-0, and it was the only goal of the game. Montreal clings to the narrow lead. Fern Flaman leads the Boston rush. And you can't say Bert Olmsted, number 15, wasn't back-checking on that play. The Richards on the move. Henri to the rocket. But there's no part of a 4-goal game for Maurice tonight. Leo Boivin leads the desperate Boston rush. And Plante makes the save. 10 seconds to play. There's no more need for a Boston goaltender tonight. 6 Bruin attackers. One more scramble. And Plante's save gives Montreal the 1-0 victory and a formidable 2-0 lead in the series. Teams move to Boston, where the valiant Bruins will try to defy the hockey odds just once more. A rugged, hard-working Boston line was Johnny Pearson on the left, the Husky Westerner Vic Stasiak, a 24-goal man, and the veteran Cal Gardner, who holds the Ironman record among present NHL performers. Canadiens' top checking line was the consistent 31-year-old Floyd Curry on the left, the man they call the honest blocker, who never plays a bad game. Rookie Phil Goyette, and penalty-killing specialist Don Marshall. Meet 2 important Bruin defensive stalwarts, Captain Fern Flaman left, and Doug Moan. 2 reasons why Boston, despite all their net-minding troubles, had the league's 3rd best defensive record. Down 2-1, Bruins knew that this was a must effort for them. Simmons makes a good save on Goyette, but Montreal got the jump again. After only a minute and a half of play, on a bullet drive by Geoffrion. Even in slow motion, that puck fired boom-boom style looks pretty fast. You are watching a desperate Boston team battling to get even. Papazzini's rush is stopped. Boivin gets a shot that Plante blocks. Even on their own ice, Boston can't hold off the overall surging power of the defending Stanley Cup champion Canadiens. They pin the Bruins inside their own blue line and keep Boston disorganized. Goyette passes out to Curry, who scores as Donnie Marshall, number 22, blocks Simmons' view. And now Montreal leads 2-0, still in the first period of play. More Boston trouble as Armstrong, number 4, checks Geoffrion into the boards and draws a charging penalty. A 3rd opening period goal for Montreal in the power play. Moore to Beliveau to Geoffrion, and Canadiens hold an overwhelming 3-0 lead. See in slow motion how Boston's Papazzini, number 21, almost cleared that puck, but lost to Geoffrion, who quickly turns it into a Montreal goal. Trailing Montreal 3-0 after 20 minutes, the Boston cause looks hopeless, but you'd never know it from their second period drive. Leo Bueva, number 20, gets 2 blue line shots. And then the hard-skating Stasiak forces Plonk to come up with a good save. Finally, McKinney, number 17, puts Boston on the score sheet, beating Plonk with his ankle-high drive. Montreal does not believe in resting on their laurels. Leading 3-1, they prove that a good attack is the best defense. Simmons stops Curry. But Goyette is uncovered right in front, and Canadiens lead 4-1. Watch Marshall's drive, deflected to Goyette, and the way he coolly outmaneuvers Simmons. Montreal threatening again. Geoffrion shooting and Simmons saves. It's too little and too late now for Boston, but Bruins stick with it. Flannan passes to McKell at the side of the net, and a goal in the last minute leaves the final score at Montreal 4 and Boston 2. These side-of-the-net goals are a McKell specialty. Taking Flammon's pass, he slides it under Plant's arm. To the fourth game, another Stanley Cup win would be the third for defenseman Tom Johnson on the left, and the second for his blue line mate, 24-year-old Jean-Guy Talbot. A sample of Canadiens' overall depth. On the left, Doug Harvey. Beside him, rugged young 23-year-old Bob Turner. On the right, the steady rear guard, Dollar Saint-Laurent. In the pads, relief goaltender Jerry McNeil. For 4 years, a first-string NHL netminder himself. Take a closer look at Doug Harvey, number 2. The man his coach, Toe Blake, calls the greatest of all defensemen. This year, for the 6th straight time, an All-Star. And winner of the Defenseman's Top Award, the James Norris Trophy. Bruins sub-netminder Claude Evans with 2 Boston defensemen, Bob Armstrong on the left and Leo Bueva. Bruins again on their home ice, now face elimination, trailing 3-0. For Boston, it's just one more hurdle in a trouble-ridden season. They need one more miracle. Only one team in National Hockey League history, Toronto Maple Leafs in 1942, lost the first 3 games of a Stanley Cup final and went on to win. But the Bruins aren't through yet. On a face-off, back to Larry Regan. He passes to Topazzini, over to Fleming McKell, and another one of McKell's goals by way of the side door. Slow motion shows the perfection of this 3-man play. And the way the persistent McKell needs 2 swings before he gives Boston that 1-0 lead. A typical Beliveau freewheeling rush with the save by Simmons. Now the second period. Montreal putting pressure on the Bruins. Simmons sprawls to stop Beliveau again. Dollard Saint-Laurent powers his way between the Boston defensemen. And Simmons comes up with it in another scramble. Nick Stasiak in from right wing, stopped by Harvey and Plonk. The Boston Garden is 195 feet long and 83 feet wide. But right now, it's not big enough for both Don Marshall, number 22, and Boston's Jack Caffrey. Yet it's Plonk who is shaken up on the play. He obviously suffered no serious ill effects. Here's a brilliant save from the stick of Leo Levine. It takes the slow motion camera to show how the agile Plonk really saved from Levine twice, both from point-blank range. Labine again. And Plante is still the boss. Now it's the final minute. Boston 1, Montreal nothing. Canadiens need more than great goaltending now. Plante leaves the ice. But the determined Bruins gain control against the 6 Montreal attackers. McHale gets a break. And it's even easier without a goaltender. McHale's second goal, to the delight of the Boston fans, winds up a 2-0 Bruin victory, and the series isn't over yet. The 5th game of the final, and the Bruins know they need a superhuman effort to stop this on-rushing Canadian team before their loyal and confident Montreal fans. Bruins unleash an all-out attack. Labine to Chevrefis, and right in on Plante, who thrills the fans with a crucial save. Geoffrion tries from all angles, but can't get a shot on goal. McKenney leads the drive at the Montreal net, but for 18 minutes it's a scoreless game. Finally, the Montreal power breaks loose. A three-way play with Provo number 14, to Marshall number 22, right in, but they stop him. And how, asked netminder Simmons, did that puck wind up in the net? Here's how in slow motion. Marshall, right in. They take him out, but forget the puck. Pronovo bats it home. Hockey is fast and skillful, but it can also be rugged. Yes, lady, this is shocking. But in a best-of-7 series of rough, tough body contact, game after game, tempers can get short. The main eventers here are Bert Olmsted, number 15, and Boston's Labine. Now, with 5 of those gladiators in the penalty box, it's back to the speed and finesse of a playoff hockey game. One of the most exciting goals of the championship. Harvey to Geoffrion to Moore. A headlong dive over Simmons. Players flying in all directions, and only the puck finds its way into the net. Bruins now trail 2-0, and their rugged defenseman Bob Armstrong was hurt on the same play. In slow motion, see how both Moore and Armstrong fly over Simmons. Armstrong's leg injury finished him for the game. Now it's clearly approaching midnight for the Cinderella team from Boston. The Montreal overall strength is obviously too great. Canadiens press to increase the margin. Geoffrion misses a scoring chance, and Simmons blocks Rocket Richard's attempt at the rebound. Bruins are just hanging on now. Dollard, Saint-Laurent, and Beliveau combine, and Saint-Laurent just misses. And you wonder how Beliveau failed to score from there. In slow motion, see Beliveau putting Saint-Laurent in the clear, and the puck just wide of the post. Beliveau in front again, and his backhand shot hit the post. The relentless Montreal pressure is sure to click sometime. And here it is with another jet-like drive by Boom Boom Geoffrion. Want to argue about the hardest shot in all hockey? Babe Dye, Bill Cook, Charlie Conacher. Right now, Simmons' vote would go to Boom Boom Geoffrion. You can't avoid injuries in the midst of the headlong speed of National Hockey League play. Maurice Richard bowled over at the goal mouth. And for the otherwise jubilant Canadian fans, it's a moment of anxiety as Richard is hurt. See that play in slow motion. As the rocket is stopped once. and while on his knees, is still trying to shoot when he's crashed to the ice again. Scores Boston's only goal. Jacques Plante argues Boivin was in the goal crease. The last of many arguments won by the referees during the 56-57 season. Now it's the final minute. Don Marshall runs the count to 4-1 for Montreal. And Floyd Curry adds a fifth Montreal goal. The series is over. Players leap on the ice. Fans pile over the board. The athletes shake hands in congratulations. The winning coach is hoisted high on his players' shoulders. The forum rocks with the noise. A fan gets a treasured souvenir. Such is the jubilation of a Stanley Cup victory. Cooper Smeaton, the senior trustee of the Stanley Cup, makes the presentation. On the left, Frank J. Selke, Canadien managing director. Mr. Smeaton congratulates Rocket Richard, Canadien's captain. And another season ends after a total of 225 hard-fought games presented by the 6th National Hockey League team, featuring Montreal Canadiens, Boston Bruins, Detroit Red Wings, New York Rangers, Toronto Maple Leafs, and Chicago Blackhawks. Entertainment, thrills, and excitement by the greatest players from the fastest game in the world.